Beloved friends, today we celebrate the 22nd Sunday of the year in Ordinary Time, Year C. The readings speak loudly and boldly about the virtue of humility as the true path of divine wisdom. I don't know whose life has inspired you while growing up, but I have a personal story. My life up to this point has been strongly inspired by one of our Irish Vincentian priests, Father Brian Moore C.M. Father Brian Moore, who passed in December 2011, was a practical missionary with a deep love of Africa and its people. To me, he was an inspirational figure and a powerful champion of humble service in the missionary world. I came to know Brian Moore during my formation years in the seminary. Before I even knew him, so many people describe him as a kind, humbled, and generous father figure who engaged with the weak as well as the strong in loving ways. What was outstanding about him was his consistent willingness to engage with people of all gender, status, and class. His simplicity and service to the poor and lowly was phenomenal. When Brian Moore became our student director in the Philosophy House, he taught us the virtue of patience, humility, and attentiveness to the less developed students. For Brian, since every person did not have the same background, it was important to meet each student where they were and guide them along the path of growth. Once Father Brian preached on humility of Christ and stated how the church embodied Christ, and although the church was full of scandal, it was an ever-growing church. At that time, many of us did not understand how the church is full of scandal but enjoys growth. My dear friends, my most impactful memory of Brian is his genuineness, gentleness, and humble witness to the love of Christ. As our readings talk about humility, I think of Christ, whom I saw in Father Brian Moore. Though he was white, he lived in Africa. Though he was a priest, he lived among poor people. Though he was a superior of a community, he ate what the Africans ate, lived as they lived, and visited their homes, no matter how messy these homes were. Our first reading today from the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, 17 to 20, highlights the supreme importance of humility, connecting it directly with God's favor and love of others. True humility is a sign of wisdom, not weakness, and is the key to a proper relationship with God and the community. Thus, humility is a path to receiving God's love and mercy, as pride keeps people from accepting God's grace and extends it to others. In our gospel reading from Luke chapter 14, Jesus watches people scrambling for the best seat at dinner. As this goes on, he uses the opportunity to teach that the way of God was not about power and recognition, but humility. For this reason, Jesus himself avoided earthly power and kingship. Instead, he humbled himself even unto death, death on the cross. He rejected the enticement of the devil to turn stones into bread, to live from the temple roof, and to worship the devil in exchange for all the kingdoms of the world. Instead, he established blessedness in humble services. He touched the lepers, dined with the outcast, and extended divine grace to the marginalized. Although Jesus' death on the cross was a scandal to the Jews and foolishness to Gentiles, it brought growth and power to believers. My dear friends, today in our homes, humility is not just a virtue, but a very substance that makes family life possible. Every celebrated and long-standing relationship and marriage feeds from humility. Humble people choose to learn from others. They choose to respect instead of abuse others. They choose to listen to the other people's story rather than having all the answers and explanations and solutions to dish out. Humble people choose the commonest thing as opening and holding the door to let others go first. They choose to notice what is odd at home or anywhere they are and move into preferring solution rather than complaining and pointing fingers. My dear friends, when Jesus exhorts us as he does today to invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and those who cannot repair us, he is inviting us to respect, honor, and welcome God who is present even in the least of people. One man who found himself stuck in poverty told the people who were giving him stuff, "I know people do so much for me, but what I really want is for someone to be my friend." He needed someone to be close to him. Being close to the less fortunate is a fruit of humility. The ultimate example of closeness to people comes from Christ himself. He listened to the cries of the wounded. He understood the request of the thief on the cross. He physically presents himself to the sick and abandoned in their own communities. Someone once shared that she was fortunate to grow up living in an affluent part of their city. She attended an exclusive church and school that were not opened to the people who were on the lowest economic rung. But as she grew up, she has discovered that she lived a life within a community without ever understanding what life meant for the 40% of the population around her. As a result of this background, she struggles with empathy today. My dear friends, this person could be you. It is true that when we are humble, we stand next to people who are not like us to listen to their stories, feel their pain, and help them to feel at home. This is the good news. That is discipleship to which Jesus calls us when he says, "Follow me." May God bless you.